Hi everybody, welcome back to DayZ, and this video is for all those people out there who I know are itching to get started making some Sakhal style bunkers for Chernarus or Livonia or any other custom Macs, or even more bunkers for Sakhal itself. So in this video I'm going to show you the component parts that make up the basis for the bunker, so you can kind of get started, so you know which bits they are, and then what you'll need to add are a few things. Lots of cosmetics to make it look pretty on the outside, but also you're going to have to build up a base around the bunker so that it's not floating in the air, and I'm going to kind of show you that as we go along. So in the description below this video you'll see all the item names or the class names for the bits that make up the bunker. So if you go into DayZ Editor and go to Chernarus or go to Livonia and just search for, basically you can search for Warhead and they'll come up, and the only extra one is PowerGeneratorStatic, which is the generator, and that's the things that make it up. So you kind of have this bit here, that's the land warhead storage main. So this is the one with the airlock on the outside that you've got to go through, that works even without the generator. Then it has all these little rooms in on the right hand side, so you've got 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then when you go inside these rooms they're empty. But that's where these bits come in here. So this is where you have land warhead storage room 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they slot inside here. It takes a bit of doing, but you just move things around. Now these are very important when it comes to having loot spawn in, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But the loot that spawns in inside this bunker spawns in on these little things in here. So that's quite important. Now you then have the entrance and the exits to the bunker with land warhead storage entrance and the entrance with the roof on it already. And then when you kind of got everything in place and everything's lined up, you then slide the top over the top of it and sort of move it up and down and rotate it to get it looking right. And then to actually make it work in terms of functioning, you've got to use the land warhead storage power station along with the generator static, which goes inside. The switches that operate it all are part of the land warhead storage power station, and this does work on Chernarus. I haven't tested it on Livonia or other stuff, but I'd imagine it's a core piece of the code. So they're the bits that you all put together. Now if we go over here to one that I've kind of put together, you'll see the critical thing that you're going to have to add is it's not just about these parts, because if we go down here, the lowest you can put the bunker on flat ground is here. Any lower and the terrain that you're sitting the bunker on will start to cut into the bunker and you won't be able to access it. So if you look on the floor here, you can see these holes. You can see that's the runway underneath, so I can't go any lower. If I did, the runway would intersect the bunker and stop people getting into it. So what you need to do is when you've got your bunker in the position where you want it to and everything lines up, you're going to have to place things like rocks, rubble, resized hillocks. Those tops of the round grass covered bunkers are pretty good, you know, like the ones from the Northwest Airfield. You put those and build them all up around. Just be careful that obviously you don't go into, you know, these rooms and cut them off. How they do it on Sakhal is actually on the Sakhal terrain. The bunkers are actually on a slightly elevated bit of land, and if you look underneath the bunker, you know, dive underneath it using DayZ Editor, you'll see that the terrain has actually been cut out and there's a dip in the terrain. Now we can't cut out terrain, unfortunately, on DayZ, so we have to do the opposite. So we have to sit our object on top of the terrain and then build it up around with things like rocks and resize things. Now there may well be somewhere that's very suitable for this on Chernarus or Livonia that may work very well. But if we go into this bunker, we can see we've got the airlock. Then if we come down here and then we go into these rooms, you'll see, whoop, if we can go slow enough, there we go. So you can see that's got the interior. If we go through this wall, that's got that interior, and that's got that interior there. And then if we come over here to the power station, what you should see here is, here we go. So this is the bits that make it work. So there's the generator, and there's the switches. Now the switches and these cables, they're all part of the land warhead storage power station. And so what you need to do is when you put the generator in here, you just need to make sure it kind of lines up with the cables. In fact, if I show you, if I unlock that so I can move that around, you see how, ooh, let's move it away. There we go. See how the cables are there? Now, you don't have to make it line up accurately to make it work. It'll work anyway if you just put it all together. But that's kind of what you have to do. And remember, you press T in Editor, you get your guy to come in and have a look, and you can check everything, looks all right and is all kind of lined up and stuff like that to do that. So that's how you get started. And then once you've got everything in place, lock everything in place, and then start building it up with bits of castles and bits of roads and everything to make it usable for your players, so it looks good. Now, if you want this to produce loot as it does in Sakhal, you need to include map group protos. So what do I mean? Well, what you can do is if you go to DayZ's GitHub repository and you want to download their central economy, so download the whole thing, download zip, this will then give you the DayZ offline.sakhal files, and in there you will find the map group proto. And then in there, if you just do a search for Warhead, you will have all of these map group proto entries. Now these are important because these tell the server where it should spawn loot in a particular place. So what you need to do is take these, anything that's called land warhead storage, and you need to copy and paste these into the existing map group proto for your Chernarus or your Livonia or your Deer Isle or files. You don't have to do it for Sakhal because it's already got them, but you need these. And this is really important, you need to then, within DayZ Editor, you do your file export, and obviously export it to a object spawner, which is the thing that you use in your CFG gameplay.json to object, but you also export a map group pos. And the map group pos file and the snippet that you create, you then add to your server's map group pos file, and that has the individual coordinates for these individual bits. So what happens is the map group pos says to the server, okay, look, there's a land warhead storage room 2 at these coordinates, and then the map group proto says within that land group storage room 2, so let's go to it and have a look, I want you to spawn military tools, containers, clothes and weapons at these coordinates itself, with loot max 12, that sort of thing, or loot max 20, sorry. So you use those two things together. Now I know that might sound a little bit complicated, but once you've done it once or twice, it's quite easy. But, and this is the big but, often you'll find that when you add new map group proto entries to your server, loot will not start spawning straight away. Sometimes it can take a fresh install, sometimes it can take quite a long time for the server's central loot economy to go, oh right, yeah, this is a new place, I should start spawning loot there. I guarantee that as soon as you put your bunker there and you visit it on your server, so you've got admin tools and a PC server, obviously this will work on console, PlayStation and Xbox, you'll go there and there won't be any loot. But if you do a fresh install, it will start generating loot there, and it will start generating loot there after a while when you start doing it. So there we go, that's the bare bones. They're the jigsaw pieces, how to get started making a Sakhal style bunker on one of the other DayZ maps. And I can't wait to see what people come up with. I'm sure you come up with amazing combinations of different size and different scaled objects to make it blend in with the map, to make it look totally natural with bushes and trees and all that sort of stuff on it as well, piles of rubbish. And I also can't wait to see how we can now combine these, what can we call them? They're almost like quest lines that you could do now, aren't they? Because if you think about it now, we've got the key card that you need to open up the bunker in Livonia, so you can use that on any map, the key card bunker, so key card and an unlockable door. You've got the key for the briefcase, so you need a key to open up the scientific briefcase from on Sakhal to get the glow plug. So you could add that just to something, and you could use that in combination with the key card if you wanted to. You've got the glow plug you need with the generator. Well, you need the glow plug that you need to add to the generator to get this to open. But then also, you could also combine this with chemical places, can't you? So you could have something, you could have the key card, as it is like now, you could have the key card in a chemical zone, in a gas zone. So in order to access the gas zone, you need to have NBC gear. But then you could also add something like, if you put in, for example, oil rigs or islands, extra islands off the coast where you would need a boat to get to them, you could have a kind of a trail of quests, couldn't you? You could have a, right, okay, so you need to find a boat to get to the island to get the NBC gear, or say it would be a oil rig. So you need to find a boat to get to the oil rig to get to the NBC gear that allows you to go into the gas zone to retrieve the key card that lets you into the bunker, that gets you the briefcase, that you then have to find the key to the briefcase on a zombie that then gives you a glow plug that you then put in a generator to then open up this bunker. So we've got we've got a several part quest line that will work on console as well, I think, which is very, very exciting. But I'm sure everybody's going to come up with amazing ideas. So hopefully you found these useful. If you have it, like, you want to see more of the same, press subscribe, and of course I'll see you again soon.